you with your host George, and I'm with Agobakwe Mboweni, the incoming Vice President of SASCO. Mr. Agobakwe, how are you doing, sir?
Good afternoon, George, and your audience. I'm very well, thank you.
President candidates, what have they done they can show for?
Leading up to elections?
Yes, leading up to them running for, because it doesn't help them running and being backed up by political parties and having a lot of people back them up yet. We don't have concrete information about what they've done for us to believe that they are actually capable to stand and lead us. So I want something solid to say that this is what I've done and this is what I'm planning to do, so I can believe in you. Because having masses and masses of people back you up because you're part of a political party will not.
In terms of what we have done, before last year, SRC elections, SASCO was the organization that was in power, meaning that it was the organization that was occupying the SRC. So some of the few things we had done prior to us losing power last year was that there was the free Wi-Fi that was provided. There was the provisional registration as well provided. Historically, students wouldn't have the chance for provisional registration. So that's one aspect. In terms of transformation of the residences as well, you'd find that residences would be predominantly white. If the white names would have predominantly white people inside, the predominantly black residences will have black people. The transformation is there. It's not as much, but we're starting to see a much more integration of residences. The dismantling of first-year culture as well. It has been broken down. A lot of first years are no longer initiated as much. It's much more inclusive of people from different backgrounds. So those are just some of the points we've done as SASCO and we're in SRC.
Hi, I'm saying that I've been staying at my friend's place for about 2 months now. So I just want to know, how can the SRC assist me or help me find a permanent place?
One of the things we want to do is that we understand that there's a lack of accommodation for a lot of students on campus. If I'm not wrong, the campus can occupy 5,000 people, and then you'd find that the whole institution, being the Bloemfontein campus, is 27,000 students. So one of the things we want to do is that we want to take HRA from being an independent organ in the institution and for it to liaise with student affairs. So therefore would have much more power on placement of students with liaising with the Dean of Student Affairs. One of the aspects as well we want to do is that for you to qualify for RES, one of the requirements should be that socioeconomic issues should be considered, because we come from backgrounds, but then you'll find that students who can afford affluent accommodation off campus are living on campus, and you find that they have cars. So you find that they're paying lesser rates, and even they're much more safer, as well as better accreditation of off-campus residences that comply with the municipality bylaws. There's a draft that's out. So once the draft is adopted, we'll start implementing it and making sure that students have better accommodation.
The question is, will they be able to negotiate to get us more investigators on the campuses? Because currently we have 5 investigator and protection services for all 3 campuses.
We would have to investigate whether there's sufficient employees at protection services. It could be one form of investigation, but you could find that the team is compatible, that the team is sufficient. So we'd have to investigate whether they're enough, how many are deployed to each campus. But our predominant mandate is that we are responsible for the Bloemfontein campus. So in terms of all 3 campuses, that would have to fall to the institutional SRC to have a look. So our mandate would be to investigate whether there are enough employees within protection service on campus to make sure that students are safe.
Can you just break down your manifesto for us?
Okay.
Because now we have asked you questions from students. You haven't actually broken down your manifesto. Can you just break down your manifesto in a snippet of it?
In a snippet. Okay. My position which I'm running for is the vice president position in the SRC. The vice president is responsible for the internal relations and intricacies of the SRC. he or she is responsible to make sure that the SRC is coherent and fluid. So as the Vice President, you chair 5 committees. So one being discipline, other one being policy, the other one is being the student parliament, which subsequently makes you as well as the secretary, and then the other ones are you're the co-chairperson for media, as well as the chairperson for campaigns. So predominantly I had looked at 3 principles within that aspect, because I viewed that media, you're a co-chairperson, in campaigns it's almost predominantly that everybody has one project or another within the SRC. So I had focused fully on the 3 things that I spoke about initially, which is policy, student parliament, and discipline. So in discipline is that you'd understand that for anything to operate, there have to be laws that are set out, regulations, you have to subscribe to the rules. So in terms of discipline, you'd find that I was focusing predominantly on 2 parts, that we need a leadership code of conduct. As a leader, you're a student, but you must be justified and we must clear the line, how different are you from other students. So you should carry yourself in an aspect that motivates other people to be leaders. But we must also acknowledge that not everybody comes from the same background and not everybody views leadership in terms of the same aspects. So we'd have to have a University of the Free State Leadership Summit that gives the terms of references and the framework of a leadership as well, and would establish a code of conduct and how a leader should subscribe.
During the week, SASCO released a statement about SOSO. Do you think that it's a strategy of SASCO to decampaign the EFF in that sense?
Okay, in terms of that aspect, it's not a matter of decampaigning. I feel like everybody has a freedom of expression and the students need to know what is happening as well. We also received the information this week. It's not a coincidence. It was just, it's just what happened. It was information we received this week. It wasn't meant to decampaign anybody. Decampaigning, others use smearing for decampaigning and mudslugging, so that wasn't the main intention. So whoever views it, everybody has a freedom of expression and perception as well.
Then what might ask that many students don't actually understand the relationship between SASCO, the ANC and other bodies within the structures of the ANC. Can you just explain the snippet? What is the relationship between SASCO and the ANC? Okay,
SASCO is an independent autonomous organization that was founded in 1991 on the 6th of September at Rhodes University. So SASCO was established, it was a combination of historical student movements when the ANC was banned, but after the banning of political parties in 1991, SASCO as well established itself. So SASCO has a contradictory and a complementary relationship with the ANC, meaning that if the ANC does something right, we're the first to commend them. If the ANC does something wrong, we're the first to criticize and lambast them. The relationship with the ANC, making SASCO independent and autonomous, meaning that the ANC has no control over us, is based on the Freedom Charter's 4th point, if I'm not mistaken, which is the doors of learning shall be open to all. So meaning that SASCO can align to any political party that it views to be for that change of the learning, the doors of learning shall be open to all. So in terms of our relationship with the ANC, is one that is complementary and contradictory, but it's not a permanent one. It's just for convenience sake, understanding that they are the leadership of society, they are the organization that we find resonance with currently, with policies and the constitution as well.
Now, in closing remarks, can you just remind students why should they vote for you? What capacity can you do to actually address their issues, because literally you have a year, that's if you get into office. So in closing remarks, can you just tell students why should they vote for you?
Okay, in closing remarks, I'd like to say vote for SASCO. Our track record speaks volumes for itself. Even when we were out of office, we did an abundance of things. We pushed for the university to make provisional registration this year in January for students with bursaries, for students on NSFIS who are waiting for NSFIS updates. We also had a study with SASCO last year and this year. We also had, we took initiative upon ourselves whereby there was statues of apartheid colonial masters that were seen to be praised at the likes of Fissays. We took it upon ourselves. We went there, we removed the statues ourselves. So there's an indication that we are student activists. We're not just there for governance, but understanding that the SRC is the highest decision-making body for students, would like to have a place in office to just accelerate what better ideas we still have for students holistically as well. Thank you.
Mr. Agobakwe, it was a pleasure interviewing. Thanks a lot.
The feeling is mutual.